Oh dear, that's so neat. 1 minute. Good morning, guys. 30 seconds.
Yeah. A little housekeeping. No smack in the chat. Peace, love, and understanding. Raise your hand if you're on the platform. We're not interrupting each other. We're just having a spirited conversation. Thank you for being part of the two-way experience. This program is based on the network news division's morning meetings, but you get to ask questions. So again, please, if you're on the two-way platform, we ask you to raise your hand. And today's one of those days. We need 3 new people, or this is the last episode of the show. So if you've never raised your hand before, please be part of 1/3 contribution to saving the show. And if it is the last episode, I think it's a good one to go out on because we have a lot of fun stuff to share with you. So please.
But if we can make that call by 9:30, I'm trying to get a hot yoga class on Monday morning. So that would be super helpful.
All right, here we go. President's got no public events today. He's supposed to head to Bedminster at 4, intelligence briefing at 11. Let's look at number 1, though. This is the White House pool today. Fascinating. The print pool is HuffPost. With the possible exception of the Daily Beast, you won't find a more hostile news organization to the president than Huffington Post, and yet they're there in the pool, but there are no events, so they're not going to do very much. As I said, president's got not much on his schedule, nothing public as of now. Vice President, don't know what he's doing, although he did an interview with Ruthless, which we'll show you in a moment, which just objectively, this guy is going to be very hard to beat. I'll just say he is so skilled. It's crazy. House is out. Senate is still working through nominations. Unemployment number came out at 8:30. Let's pop that up, 115. Not a great number. And we've had a week of economic data, some suggesting things are going great, some less so. No, not that one. Sorry.
I think he meant 114.
Yeah, I did mean 114. Sorry about that. 73,000 jobs last month. And the previous numbers were revised downward. We'll talk about that in a moment, but below expectations and not particularly good. But again, there was a lot of good data this week too. Mike Huckabee, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Steve Witkoff, the president's envoy, are touring in Gaza today, and they're going to report back to the president. And Witkoff is heading from Gaza to meet with Putin in Moscow. We'll talk about that. And there's the first public hearing today in Texas, 10 a.m. Eastern, for the redistricting map. All right, gentlemen, let's talk tariffs. I got to say, you know that old expression, fool me once, shame on me, or shame on you, fool me twice. Fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Even the people on CNBC, they're like, well, the president announced that the tariffs are going to affect next week, but the White House says this is a hard deadline. And the only reason they're going to affect next week is because it takes a week to implement them. I mean, come on, folks. As my sources told me last year, the president doesn't love tariffs. He loves American economic success. These deadlines mean as much as my instruction to not put smack in the chat to most of you means nothing. And so right now you got a bunch of countries that I think 4 countries in the EU account for more than 50% of U.S. imports, and All those countries now have tariffs at 10% and above, 15% and above in most cases. And the president's got the sweet spot. He's got a bunch of deals in place and more coming, and some tariff revenue, but also investment in the United States. So, Sean, as the week ends, where do you think we're headed next in terms of tariff deals, particularly Canada, Mexico, and some of the others, India, that don't have deals yet?
Okay, so there's actually a lot of questions in there. Mexico has actually done a very good job. President Sheinbaum has stayed in touch, which played the game well, I think, which is why she got a 90-day extension for Mexico. Conversely, Mr. Carney to our north, making a big Palestine announcement the day before this came due was not smart politics. He really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And so there's a US, Canada, Mexico, USMCA. So 75% of goods fall under that category, 25 don't. You're going to have those 25 subject to a 35% tariff under the under the emergency declaration that the president's used on fentanyl. So those are very unique because of it's a separate usage of what they call IEPA for that, and he's a lot stronger on that because it's a national security drug crisis. So Canada and Mexico are in their own categories. Mexico playing it much better than I think Canada. But again, when you look at the number of goods not subject under the current trade agreement, it's not as big of a deal. On the other countries, I mean, look, these countries, once the EU deal came in particular, there was a line going down the road of people saying, give me a tariff rate. What can we do? How can I keep it lower? What I would say is that it's not just the amount of folks that are coming. There is a lot of, I mean, and Dan talks about this all the time, but it's true. There's a lot of trade nitty gritty that goes in terms of de minimis goods, what they call 0 for 0 sectors, where you look at how we do versus them. So I'd say I feel like if I were the White House, I'd feel very good about this week. They got a ton of big deals. They scared the crap out of a lot of people thinking, take the best deal you can get at 15% or higher. So I think they feel very good. There's a lot of countries that are trying to lock in the deal, but it's an ongoing and iterative process that we will be able to evaluate week by week whether or not how much progress is being made.
And now for the Democratic response, the gentleman from New York, Dan Turrentine. Dan.
I actually agree with a bunch of things Sean said. I think the challenge is
reclaiming my time.
Yes. I think the challenge is.
Hold on one second. Pop up CNN when you can. Go ahead, Dan.
Sure. And I think he just joined the Zoom here, David Bahnsen. For those who haven't seen it, I highly recommend listening to Mark's interview with him yesterday, because there was a lot of good stuff in there talking about the economy. The economy is good, but there are just some signs that are a little bit worrying. And I think what all of this tariff stuff and trade deals that kind of are half filled in, half not, as Sean was just describing, is it is more uncertainty. If you're trying to plan, you still don't fully know what the rules of the road are. Is Trump going to turn a dial? Is there going to be some detail in there that causes you headaches if you source out of Canada or Mexico with your parts, if your customers? It's hard, and that's concerning if the economy is slowing. We don't know.
Yep. Hold on. Let's listen to the chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, please, on CNN.
And the one beautiful bill for investment, things like full expensing on investment in equipment and R&D, on new factory structures. These are huge. So it's all going to get much, much better from here.
But on those major downward revisions for June and May, I mean, June was initially said to be 147,000 jobs added, now revised to be just 14,000 jobs added. That amounts to the weakest month of job growth since December of 2020. And you attribute that to what, if it is not in part because of the uncertainty created in part by the president's trade war?
Oh, I attribute it to the combination of the three things that I described before. About 40% of that is due to seasonal adjustment quirks around teachers. Some of it is due to declining foreign-born employment, even as we created more American-born employment, and that is going to net out in a way that you see ultimately reflected in the data like that. And then finally, there's the uncertainty, right? Don't forget, we were in the midst of restructuring the global trading system in a way that hasn't been done in decades. The president is standing up for American workers and American firms for the first time in decades, and of of course that was going to induce some uncertainty. It induced some volatility in financial markets, and we can see it induces some volatility in economic data too. But that uncertainty is resolved. The tariff rates are set. The one big beautiful bill is law. It's going to get better from here.
You'd said that this isn't ideal, but what I gather from you is the White House is fine with this because you attribute this to the short-term pain, long-term gain argument of the trade war?
Oh, well, some of it for sure. But I mean, look, there's no way around the fact that if you're engaged in a very serious negotiation, and by the way, those negotiations are extraordinarily successful.
Okay,
beyond
Dan,
my wildest
Dan,
dreams.
I mean, look, I think part of the
the
problem is we don't know what the end game is, and there is still more uncertainty. So I'm actually really surprised he admitted that third point on television. That's a big deal. And I think just the last thing I'll say is David made a really smart point yesterday that kind of the whole trade conversation has kind of gone away from reshoring everything and more to opening new markets and getting domestic investment. The problem is there's no forcing mechanism on the domestic investment. It's private enterprise and others that are going to try to find opportunities. But what we saw in the first term was a lot of this never materialized because it takes a while to identify the project, to identify the investment, vet it, make it, and the world changes, and so you sometimes follow through, you sometimes don't. So I think it could be that this is just a temporary blip in this reorientation, but the longer they keep the uncertainty on the table, I don't think it's good.
Okay, we're going to talk about Russia and China. I'm going to challenge you both to say something you knew that you've never said before on those. Here we go. Russia, as I said, Witkoff's supposed to go there. Rubio, in an appearance on Fox radio with Brian Kilmeade, disclosed that he's been talking to top Putin aides of late. Here is the Secretary of State / National Security Advisor talking about his view of where we are with Russia. 104, please.
First of all, let me say the president has waited over 6 months now and given the best efforts possible. We continue to engage with the Russian side as early this week on Monday or Tuesday. We had a full conversation with them as well, not with Putin, but with some of Putin's top people in hopes of arriving at some understanding on a path forward that would lead to peace. And we've not seen any progress on that. And I think what bothers the president the most is he has these great phone calls where everyone sort of claims, we'd like to see this end if we can find a way forward. And then he turns on the news and another city's been bombed, including those far from the front lines. So at some point, he's got to make a decision here about, how much to continue to engage in an effort to do ceasefires if one of the two sides is not interested in one. So the president has a lot of options. I mean, he has options, as everyone knows, to sanction secondary sales of oil, secondary sanctions on oil sales of Russian oil, which is a huge part of their revenue. There's sectoral banking sanctions that would also be very powerful. Again, I think our hope is to avoid that and to sort of figure out a way that we can get the fighting to stop. We think that's the best path forward. We're open to some different paths, but the best path forward is to have the shooting stop and the talking start.
Okay, Dan, in theory, we're headed towards a deadline. The president still hasn't embraced the sanctions bill. He hasn't really said anything new about arming Ukraine, either via the Europeans or not, except in the abstract. Where do you think we're headed here?
Who has more will? I mean, I don't understand anything Rubio just said in that. It's a joke. Like, okay, for 30 years, Putin has lied and misled U.S. presidents. So there's nothing new there. If Trump truly thought he was an honest broker, that's embarrassing. And the second part is the sanctions have absolutely no teeth whatsoever because of China. And we're not going to put a 500% tariff on China. That's just ridiculous. So I keep coming back to who has the will to arm. That's it. It's the only question.
Sean.
I think with this deadline moved up, what other actions does President Trump make? If he's, he moved the deadline up, which would seemingly indicate that he's lost or continues to lose patience with Russia. So the question in my mind is, to Dan's point, I agree. I mean, the sanctions, it's not even that they have teeth. I don't know that anyone, but is there more that he can do? And I think there's or at least discussions about setting up funds where NATO countries, European countries would put into them, and we would, use those to buy weapons that would fund Ukraine. Those are the kind of things that I think I will be kind of keeping an eye on whether we're with that those things manifest. That's going to show we're moving in a new direction. The president's lost all of his patience with Putin.
Well, and I think the other thing, Mark, that we all need to start thinking about is the fighting season has about another 3 months. By October, the conditions get extremely bad and cold, and historically, the fighting has kind of ebbed between November and like March, and then it reaccelerates in the spring. So one thing maybe Trump's trying to get from here to there, knowing that the fighting should slow down and see if he can do something over the winter. The problem, again, is I still don't think Putin's going to accept whatever it is. He's going to want more.
Yeah. Incredibly important New York Times story today by David Sanger about U.S. and China as we continue to see whether there's going to be a Trump-Xi summit. So much business to be done between the two countries, not just on trade, but on technology, on cyber, on controlling various parts of the world. Diplomacy, there's just a ton. But this issue of can Trump, either in a grand bargain or it's in an intermediate deal, cleave China away from supporting Russia at all?
I think it's not even just like, I think China looks at Russia more as a hedge against the U.S. and needs a relationship so I don't even know that it's Putin specific as much as it's Russia specific and having outlets that are outside of the U.S. So I wouldn't be bullish on that at all.
Dan, are you at all bullish on that?
No, for the same exact reason, because what you're implying is China is happy to help us deal with a problem. Right. And China's goal is to create more problems for the United States so China can dominate.
Right. They don't want to do us any favors.
I read that Wall Street Journal op-ed and started laughing. I mean, it's a total fairy tale. Like, China wants to help us. China's our friend.
So you know what, Dan, when you point out that see, this is what I think is so spectacular about, like, I put a lot of those people in the same bucket as experts that I rail against, because we've been talking about what China wants. And it's like, this has been the entire problem since Nixon went to China, which is we think we know what China wants more than what China wants. And we keep talking about, if we do this, they'll react this way. And we've been epically wrong for decades.
Yeah. All right. Washington Post has a really interesting story about how at least some Democrats feel about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris not getting off the stage. Here's that headline. That's the number 105. And quotes a bunch of people willing to go on the record saying this is not good. We need to be about the future. These two people don't represent the future, and they remind people of the problems of 2004. Return of Biden-Harris snags Democrats' push to turn the page on 2024. The party is hoping to move on from its losses and look to the future, but its central figures from the last election keep stepping back into the spotlight. They both stepped back into the spotlight yesterday, the announcement of Vice President Harris's book, and then her turn on Colbert. Let's take a look. 107, please.
Why are you using this now? Are you saving yourself for a different office that might be?
No.
That's what everybody obviously.
I know, but honestly,
obviously people project onto their
I
hopes and
understand.
dreams.
And honestly, that it's more perhaps basic than that. Listen, I am a devout public servant. I have spent my entire career in service of the people. And I thought a lot about running for governor. I love my state. I love California. I've served as just elected district attorney, attorney general, and senator. But to be very candid with you, when I was young in my career, I had to defend my decision to become a prosecutor with my family. And one of the points that I made is, why is it then when we think we want to improve a system or change it, that we're always on the outside on bended knee or trying to break down the door? Shouldn't we also be inside the system? And that has been my career. And recently I made the decision that for now, I don't want to go back in the system. I think it's broken.
All right. Joe Biden also on the stage last night in Chicago, speaking to a very important group of Black lawyers from around the country. Here is Joe Biden, 109.
Joe Biden.
I think a lot of Americans are starting to realize that under the pressure we're under now with this guy we have as president. Oh, get ready, folks. This is just starting. Our courts are meant to be a valid check on the excesses of other branches of government, especially when Congress and our executive overreach and run afoul of our constitutional and institutional safeguards, as they are doing now.
All right. One more piece of Biden-Harris news. Mike Donlin did.
Real quick, did anyone, when you watched that, did anything else jump out at you?
Which one, the Biden or the Harris?
Yeah, the Biden clip.
Teleprompter.
No.
Well, that's normal.
I honestly believe he is I mean, that he looked like really I mean, like.
Did you watch the whole thing?
No.
It's actually pretty good. I mean,
No. But do you think okay? So let me ask: did his appearance not jump out at you?
It was a nighttime event, and they did a bad job on his makeup. So no.
No, okay. I mean, I don't think he looks he looked old. He is old.
Yeah.
I know. Maybe Mark's right that it was lighting and makeup, but I thought it was.
Yeah. Go watch the whole thing. I mean, again, it was
like
good. Wasn't the greatest speech ever, but
what did I do to deserve that?
Yeah.
Go watch the whole thing.
Good point. All right. 106. Axios is reporting that Mike Donlin, who didn't take the fifth before the committee yesterday, was going to earn $8 million total, including $4 million bonus if Joe Biden won the election. And some Democrats and Republicans are saying, well, of course he didn't want Joe Biden to get out of the race, because if Joe Biden had stayed in the race and won, he would have gotten $4 million, which is a lot for a presidential campaign. It's a lot for politics, I have to say.
That's massive.
I know someone who made $1 million a year running a campaign committee, and that was considered to be like crazy. And it's $4 million. Anyway, let's just start with a few basics. Sean, based on Kamala Harris, she's going to be in the news because in 6 weeks she's going to be in a book tour. She seems inclined to campaign for people in the midterms. Based on what she said in that clip, based on how she framed the book and her book video, do you think she's currently definitely running for president, maybe running for president, or not currently planning to run for president?
I have gone back and forth like 4 times in the last 24 hours on this question.
Well, then just tell us where you are now.
Then I'm in the maybe.
Maybe.
Amber Duke, who was on our shows yesterday, had an interesting point, which was she named the book 107 Days, and it almost seems like she's trying to use the number of days in the campaign as the excuse now. I thought that was really smart. I don't get that the clip that we played from Colbert gave me mixed sentence. It was like, I don't want to be in the system, but I want to travel around the world, around the country.
Listening to her.
But right. So I was like, so which is it? That's what a candidate would do. But then the system is broken and I don't want to be in it. So, I mean, are you setting the predicate that says the system is broken? I talked to a lot of people. I know how to fix it. Okay. I don't know.
Yes, no, maybe. Dan, yes, no, maybe.
60-40, yes.
I'd say maybe. She absolutely wants to run. I think depending on how this goes the next 12 months, given how cautious she is, she may ultimately decide not to, but she 100% wants to run. Sean, I agree with you. I agree with Amber Duke, from last night, that absolutely. And I was told that she believes that one of the reasons she lost is that she didn't have enough time, which I agree with most people who think the only reason she had a chance was she didn't have a lot of time, and it didn't let all of her, traits emerge as much. But that answer, one of the things that just makes me shake my head is that convoluted answer. And I agree, you're a devout public servant, but you have to be on the inside. You're tired, it's broken, so you don't want to be on the inside. If you've had 6 months, that's the best answer. She looked uncomfortable. It didn't come off naturally. Like, you could see her wheels spinning, which is one of her problems. And we're going to show JD Vance. That is not a man who's sitting around uncomfortable and unsure how to answer questions.
So there's 2 points I want to make that kind of dovetail off what you were saying. When you do an interview, Mark's asked about this before. Like, how do you sit down and go, hey, Dan, we're going to be on Colbert tonight. Let's kind of run through this and, murder board it. So the first question he's going to ask you is, why didn't you run for governor? Let's go. And you go, okay. And you go, oh, why don't, that's just not. So that, to me, knowing what you would do to prepare for that interview and watching that answer was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Like, how do you not? Secondly, I will say this. Initially, I thought, you know what? She sounds pretty good. It was less cringy. And then she has to go in and tell the, like, I was a little girl. And you know what, Joe
Yeah.
Biden, the buses can't. And I'm like, oh my God, you can't help yourself. And it's just right when I thought maybe she actually had taken it down a notch. She can't help herself. And this is going to be her continuing problem.
All right. Let me make 4 or 5 points, and we'll move on. First of all, again, basic. You go in Colbert. What's the soundbite you want? What's the message you want to drive? Her message is the system's broken, I guess. Number one. And number two, someone reported this, and this is what I was saying. The way California elections work now, she would have been in a general election almost certainly against another Democrat. And that Democrat would have gotten every Republican vote in the general. I really think she would have had trouble winning a general election, even though she would have gotten the most votes in the first round. 3, I really do think she's going to have trouble raising money if she runs for president. Yep. Maybe she'll be okay low dollar, but I think it's going to be hard to get bundlers to bundle for her, and that's got to be a factor. Next, this book, Jonathan Karp, who's the head of Simon & Schuster, who's published some of the most important political books in the last 25 years, it keeps saying this is one of the finest nonfiction books about politics he's ever read. He's just built up expectations that it's going to be spectacular. And I will say on the book tour, in the book, it seems to me she's going to have to address a bunch of issues that she's never addressed. And Colbert didn't ask her any of these hard questions, including the question about Biden cognitive decline and about her interview on The View. And there's just no evidence that she's going to prepare to answer those in a way that will make her more likely to run. I do not believe she'll run for president. She might try, but I do not believe she'll get to the starting line because I don't see how she's going to raise money, and I don't see her improving the challenges she had when she ran, both in 20 and in 24, which is she does not like to make difficult decisions under pressure. Dan.
And you asked us about Harris. I mean, I think the other part of this was you played the clip of Joe Biden, and I agree on a curve for Joe Biden, he was pretty good last night. But one, it's clear Joe Biden doesn't want to go away. So Joe Biden is going to remain popping up with these speeches. He has his own book coming out. If you're Harris, you're on a collision course now with him. Exactly. You either have to hug him, and we're in this together. We serve together. We have the same message. We don't give an inch. He was fine. You know, we did amazing things. Or you're on a collision to separate yourself with a man who is bitter and you know, absolutely wants to convince everyone that his administration was great and he is great. That is a train wreck for the party. That's going to play out as we head into the midterm. So I think it's mutually assured destruction for both of them.
Totally agree.
Okay, so based on what both of you just said, Kamala Harris has a history. Think about the debate when she threw Biden under the bus, you know, about the busing issue, literally. Yep. Okay, so she'll do what it takes when she wants to play dirty.
Will she?
She didn't last year.
No. Wait, no. But she has done it. How's that? She has done it.
Sometimes, yeah.
So we role played this the other day about what she would have to do to go to Biden and say, and Mark, you were very clear that he would lose it and go off the rails. Okay. So that being said, you guys are absolutely right. We're on a collision course. Biden apparently really wants to settle scores, tell some stuff like they paid $10 million for something over there.
Well, and protect his legacy.
Okay, fine.
Do you guys think they've shared their books with each other?
So this is what I'm getting at. Like we are talking, we want to always look forward, right? So we're watching the two cars come right to the same intersection. The question I think is now that we should ask is, I actually think the onus is going to be on her, right? Biden's going to tell stories. He'll throw some people under the bus like Hillary Clinton. Like Nancy Pelosi. He'll settle some scores. Okay. I wonder to you guys, do you think that she says we haven't heard anything about her advance, but to your point, Mark, if Simon & Schuster's head guy is out there saying these kind of things, that's raising the bar for what we should expect in a book.
Correct.
And so I got to believe Biden, we know he's getting money. So he's saying something. My guess is Pelosi and a couple others are going to get whacked.
Yeah.
But I just don't see Kamala Harris going after Biden.
All right. I'm going to break a little news here. Okay. We talk all the time about, what did Kamala Harris know and when did she know it about his cognitive decline? I will tell you, and this has never been reported barely at all. If the Biden people decide that Kamala Harris is coming after Joe Biden, wait till you hear the Palin-esque stories about how much they tried to help her be prepared to be vice president and be in a position to run, and how much they decided not happening. She's not up to this. And if the Biden people feel threatened, you will hear stories about Kamala Harris as vice president that will not make her look good. Okay, so there's a closeness to the couples. It's not like they're at war currently, but I'm telling you, if Joe Biden feels threatened, if his people feel threatened by her, this is going to escalate in a big way, and she will have a hard time defending against the stories if that dam bursts. They were extraordinary in trying to help her do the job of vice president. They gave her every opportunity. And they found in some instances that she had some issues. Okay, moving forward.
And that is reporting, not Spidey sense, right?
That is reporting. That is not Spidey sense. If I ever get around to doing a book about 2024, you'll read a lot about that. Again, we need 3 new people to raise their hands and be part of the conversation in just a moment. So if you've never been a part of this program before as an active hand raiser, please raise it now. We need 3 or this is the last episode. And unlike Donald Trump, when I said deadlines, not bluffing. All right. JD Vance did another Broy podcast, and I'd like to see him do Call Me Daddy because, or is that what it's called? Call Me Daddy or
call her Daddy.
Call her Daddy. Thank you, yep. Alex Cooper, because he shows he can do Broy. This guy more and more impresses me as a political athlete. It's why I think Trump's going to endorse him. It's why I think he's the odds-on favorite, not just to be the Republican nominee, but to be the next president. We could show you 5 clips off this thing, but of course we'll go back to Sydney Sweeney. Here's the vice president on Ruthless talking about the Democrats and Sydney Sweeney. 111, please.
Yeah, my political advice to the Democrats is continue to tell everybody who thinks Sydney Sweeney is attractive is a Nazi. that appears to be their actual strategy. I mean, it actually reveals something pretty interesting about the Dems, though, which is that you have like a normal all-American beautiful girl doing like a normal jeans ad, right? They're trying to sell jeans to kids in America, and they have managed to so unhinge themselves over this thing. And it's like, you guys, did you learn nothing from the November 2024 election? Like, I actually thought that one of the lessons they might take is we're going to be less crazy. The lesson they have apparently taken is we're going to attack people as Nazis for thinking Sydney Sweeney is beautiful. Great strategy, guys. That's how you're going to win the midterms.
Talks about fireflies. He talks about NFL. He talks about the last time he was able to drive a car. I'm just telling you, this is reminding me of 1998 when the Democrats failed to stop George W. Bush from building up a head of steam. And the guy, was able to win the nomination pretty easily and then able to win the White House, although Al Gore got more votes in Florida. More people went to the polls intending to vote for Gore. In any event, Dan, what should the Democratic Party be doing to slow this guy down? Because they're not doing anything right now, and he is ahead of steam. What if you were the DNC communications director or our friend Tim Hogan? What should they be doing? How much should they be devoting to trying to slow this guy down? Because right now they're just saying, "Oh, he's a joke. He's a clown. He's right wing. He called Trump Hitler." What should they be doing?
Yeah, I mean, first off, just compare that to Kamala Harris. I mean, again, one is at ease and laughing and talking like anybody at a barbecue, and the other is stilted. I will also go back to the Harris-Biden thing. What was the crux of both of their arguments? Democracy, rules and norms, like just this kind of esoteric kind of offending of my sensibilities. There is still no real focus on the real lives of real people, and starting to put a frame around JD Vance, the issues where he's uncomfortable. To me, I agree with you, Mark. He is an excellent political athlete who's getting better as he kind of, plays in the game more, to use a metaphor. And the party, this is what we have got. Stop focusing on Trump, start focusing on the future of what comes next, kind of Trump 2.0, which is really what JD Vance is, because ultimately, I think for Vance, the one Achilles he's going to have is he's going to live or die with Trump. If Trump is going to make this his third term, and like I could totally envision that if JD Vance says something in November or August of 28 that Trump doesn't like, he'll call into like Fox and Friends and be like, well, what JD meant was, and this is what he should have said. It'll be all about Trump.
So I never read the chat, but I glanced at it. Dan just put in the chat, not Dan Turrentine, but Dan, member of our community. JD is a disaster. And I'm telling you, folks, if the left thinks, oh, this guy's such a disaster, he'll never be president. You go watch the whole thing on Ruthless. I mean, he's, as Dan said, he's getting better and better. This Dan, Sean.
I'll just say this about JD Vance, because Mark, you say this all the time. He's super smart. He's really good. He doesn't have Trump's baggage. So when you think about JD Vance going into suburban Pennsylvania, suburban Atlanta, he is not as threatening because he's not such a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
But he can also wield a knife with a smile. And those are the most hard politicians to handle.
And as Megan's interview with Usha Vance showed, she's going to be a massive asset.
Totally.
Sean, put on your national committee hat. If you were the DNC communications director, what would you do? What would the Vance project look like? Like, should have a tracker? Like, what should they be doing?
I mean, first, I would just say this. Right now, JD Vance is the nominee. He is the next president of the United States. Every time I watch him, I literally, a smile comes to my face. I get excited about how he approaches the job, how he communicates. I get excited about that campaign. Literally, it puts a smile on my face, thinking that I will be able to say, I mean, like, when you think about it from a commentator, pundit, analyst standpoint, I look forward to being able to comment on because there's no cringe moment. There's no but, or if only he did this. He is the real deal, the complete package. And I get excited thinking about 2028. I say this in all honesty. I think the bigger problem the Dems have is what Dan put his finger on. Like, going after JD every day and trying to be nitpicky, to me, might not be the smart move. It's trying to talk about what they're for and go after the bigger policy issues. Right. I would look at something like a jobs report. Like, they need to be nuts and bolts and about life and how we're making it better, and stop making it personal. The lesson, the takeaway to me was, if you guys go focus on JD Vance, good luck.
Yeah.
Because you tried it against Donald Trump. That didn't work. And JD has a great story. He can deflect. He's like a political boxer.
Just look at the three things now.
So my advice would be, if you guys go down the path of thinking, if you're predicating your strategy on thinking that it's going to be about attacking JD Vance, you're going to lose no matter what. I would focus more on policy, try to figure out how we can build up, how rebrand, what we're doing to make your life better and the country better. But trying to make it personal is not a winning strategy.
Okay, one more thing he's going to have. We've talked about this a bit. The Trump fundraising numbers for all the various Trump committees came out. 115, incredible how much they're raising, and they're more aggressive politically and in terms of fundraising than ever. Trump term limited message, $200 million war chest for political ambitions. Barack Obama had nothing like this when he was a lame duck, because lame ducks don't care about this. And this apparatus, and some of this money and this apparatus will all go towards JD Vance, and he's the chair of the RNC Finance. I mean, and Democrats are going to have from 5 to 15 candidates, all of whom are going to try to raise money. Vance may well have no opposition, and he could raise $3 billion in 2027. Literally, he could raise $3 billion in 2027. So,
well,
go ahead.
So I don't worry as much right now, because Harris showed, and Mark, you and I talked about this in the summer of 24. Whoever the nominee is will likely
eventually
get a huge jolt potentially. But I think where this is problematic is, one of the biggest mistakes that Joe Biden made was in 2023. They did not take advantage of the fact that Trump was in a primary, and he should have been framing things the way Bush did in 2003, the way Barack Obama did in 2011. So one, if he's smart and he doesn't have a primary, it gives him the opportunity. But you look at the midterms, the House super PACs, the Republican House super PAC, 32 million, Democratic, 21 million. The Senate super PAC on the GOP side, 36 million, Democrats, 17 million. We talked about the DNC, RNC, 83 to 13 million. It's hard to win if you're outspent 3 and 4 to 1.
Oh, yes. It's worse than 3 to 4 to 1. Let's just put that super PAC number in context, right? So the two Trump PACs raised roughly 200 million. They're sitting on 234 million in the bank. Combine that with the RNC, you are now north of 300 million to the DNC's 13. That's not 2 to 1. That's like 30 to 1.
And that would be impressive if this was October of 26. The fact that we are at the end of the first quarter of the game, and that's how much money they have. Mark, they can have $2 billion by next year.
I know. And make no mistake, the president says to people, you want it's the most brazen pay to play any president's ever done. You want this ambassadorship, you want this, this policy, give me $20 million. Give it to my PAC, give it to my library. And the Democrats have nothing like that. All right, we got to get through some stuff real quick because we got to get folks in real quick, guys. As the week ends, this Russia story, the New York Times is basically saying the documents that came out yesterday prove nothing to see here. Red America says, oh my God, Barack Obama should report to Sing Sing. Just as we end the week, short answer. Dan, are you taking this story about Obama and Brennan and Hillary more seriously or less seriously than did at the beginning of the week?
Less.
Sean?
Much more.
All right.
If you get my time, I get time.
No. That's all we have time for. Winners, losers, and what to look for this weekend. We'll keep following that story. Sean, winner.
American Eagle and Sydney Sweeney. The way that they handled this story, it's not just the narrative. American Eagle doubled down and put out an amazing statement saying, we apologize for highlighting Sydney Sweeney's hotness. That would have never happened.
I'm not sure that's a real statement. You sure that's a real statement?
I'm going to say it is. I like it. I give them credit. Their stock is through the roof. I might go buy a pair of their jeans. But the bottom line is, 4 years ago, they would have been cowering in the corner, apologizing, finding DAI wokeness monitors. And today, we're celebrating the company. I love it.
Pick up the pace, guys. Dan, winner of the week.
Josh Shapiro and Wes Moore. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden is reminding everyone of the past they hate. Those guys, young into the future.
Winner of the week, Kamala Harris gets a big book deal and avoids the embarrassment of running for governor of California and loses. Loser of the week, Kamala Harris. She's my winner and my loser. Sean, loser.
Global trading system.
Good. Dan.
Chuck Schumer.
Tell us why quickly.
Just the Booker Cortez Mastro thing was horrible for him. The Mondani stuff here in New York remains horrible for him. And that amendment in support of Israel is horrible for him.
Yeah.
He is really struggling.
Yeah. Sean, winner, what to watch for this weekend?
So I'm going to touch on what I didn't say. What I want to see this weekend, this Grassley declassification of the Durham and the Durham annexes is a bombshell. Don't take my word for it. I posted all the documents on Twitter and Instagram. Go read it for yourself.
What if they're fake? What if it's all fake Russian stuff and it's not real?
Wait. Hold on. So the intel, literally, this is the declassification of the basis for the false Russia hoax. And then now we're going to claim that might, come on.
Might be. I don't know.
Oh,
Dan,
so
I just need to go on the record. It's pathetic, ridiculous, and embarrassing.
Really?
My loser or what to watch for this week is Truth Social and Trump. There's nothing on the schedule. Jerome Powell, the jobs report was not good. I think there's a lot of steam in the kettle that's going to come out this weekend.
Well, I like I said, look, what I think if Republicans don't put this story is not going to get any attention in the legacy media. So if the Durham report is going to get anything in terms of
the New York Times wrote a story about it. They just wrote a story saying this all proves there's nothing to see here.
By the way, Dan, just so you know, Bedminster, Saturday, sunny, 79 degrees, Sunday, sunny, 81 degrees. So that's a lot of time on the course, a lot less time for truths.
What I'm looking forward to, we can do it in the cart. What I'm looking for this weekend is Canada, but not, as you might think, what they're going to do about the trade situation. I continue to say the only story in the world that matters now is Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau. I want to see if they go out tomorrow night. All right.
Your conversation with Megan on that topic was hilarious.
Thank you. That's on next up. All right, let's go to your questions. 3 new people. Alexandra, am I correct that you're new to the program? You've never spoken before?
Yes.
All right, we're 1/3 of the way there. Thank you for joining. Tell folks where you are and what's on your mind, and thank you for being part of Two Way.
I'm in Miami, Florida.
Nice.
And earlier, Dan mentioned something about a forcing mechanism for the tariffs, which I thought was a good point. do you think tariffs are going to stay high for the countries that don't do what they say they're going to do in the deals that they've made? Because like the deal with China, I haven't really seen anything happening since the deal was made.
Yeah.
And he's right. Like, how are you going to enforce the deal, basically?
Great question, Dan.
Alexandra, I totally agree. I mean, you can't force private companies to make investments. You can't force a sovereign fund. I mean, I guess you could try to make a bad investment. So I don't know. I think Trump got the headline, which is all he cares about. He can say $1 trillion is going to be invested here, and most people will not track that.
Sean,
I think, look, the investment stuff is fantastic, but for me, I think the bigger issue is what the tariffs look like. Do we continue to bring in unprecedented amount of revenue, but also create a more level playing field for our exporters in the U.S.? And from all accounts, what we did in the EU, Japan, and other countries is going to be a huge bonus. That's why my loser was the global trading system. Trump has really redefined how we are trading. So I think that, to me, the focus should be on the tariff rate, what we're doing, how companies and industries are reacting, and how much more that gives us the opportunity to grow.
Alexandra?
I think it's unbelievable what he's doing. I think it's going to work. I don't think we're going to hit a recession. I think it's going to work. But I'm just worried about, making sure it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great question. Let me ask you one question before you go. Yes or no? Is Vice President Vance too broy?
No, he's excellent.
He's excellent. All right.
Y'all got to worry about him.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, man. Grateful to you for being part of two-way. All right. 1/3 of the way there. And I believe George gets us 2/3 of the way there. New participants. George, have you ever spoken on this program before? Unmute first.
George, you're muted.
There you go.
No, sir. I was on the evening show a while back.
That's all right. Welcome into the morning meeting. Thank you. Remind folks where you are and what's on your mind.
Yeah, I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I would just say one of the reasons why everyone loves the show, you give us sort of a peek behind the curtain, which gives us like a little inside baseball, and we're let in on the joke sometimes. Liz, I was watching your show last night, Mark, and one of your guests, it wasn't Amber, it was the other woman.
Naomi.
Great. Said that the whole Russia thing was about, like, this is just how the sausage is made in DC, and we can like it or not like it. The consumer might not like being made, but they like to eat it. I mean, I guess, but is this the norm though? Because like I was thinking back, I'm 61, so I'm thinking back through all the presidents that I've lived through. God, there's been scandals, but to go after somebody for the last 10 years, and then you had the Russia stuff that started, whether it was true or not true, now proven, I guess, not to be true. And then you have the full force of the federal government, whether it's the CIA and the FBI and the Department of Justice. Then he leaves office, and then you try to take his money away, put him in jail, raid his house, and then you have a couple of lunatics try to kill the guy. I mean,
well, Democrats didn't try to kill him.
Ordinary compared to well, I'm not saying it was Democrat. I'm just saying, but you have a couple of loonies out there that just do things on their own. But it just seems like this is above and beyond like your typical sausage making. Am I wrong, or is this because obviously Carter, Reagan? I was younger and I wasn't as into politics, but I watch it. It seems like since the day he came down the escalator, people have just been like gunning for him. And then the other thing I wonder about, like, he also knows it's sort of a game, because when they were at the I can't remember whose funeral it was, but it was you had him sitting next to Obama and sort of chuckling. And they said, "Yeah, well, I didn't get you this time." It's sort of a weird thing. Like, so they understand what they're in on, and it's winner take all, or is this just a really extreme case of people losing their minds going after one person because he wasn't a member of their club?
Sean,
it's a great question. I think if you had asked me 10 years ago, if you had sort of put a time capsule and said, "I want to give you a bunch of scenarios," I would have said, is this a Hollywood movie? Because I don't think all of the things that you mentioned, you would say there's no way. Like these scenarios, each and of themselves, in terms of the Russia hoax, what they did with the laptop, the weaponization of the judicial system, and how they went after them. And I mean, you take each of the cases, the idea of how the New York case went down, et cetera. No, so I get it. I'm telling you, like I said, I posted the highlights from the Stern report. If you read this and aren't outraged, I don't know what planet you're on. But the idea of what Durham's unclassified annex shows. Go to Twitter, go to Instagram, read it, and it's to your point, George. The coordination. It literally says Hillary Rodham Clinton campaign advisor Julie's idea about Trump and Russian hackers tampering with the U.S. election. That should distract people from their own missing emails.
Hold on a second.
She denies knowing anything about any of this and denies writing it. So you're citing something that, if it were authentic, would be true, but you have no idea whether it's authentic.
And John Radcliffe, when he released this in 2020, basically said the same thing. I mean, this is such bullshit.
Sean, just
unbelievable.
Just basic question. You're citing a document. Do you know that the document's authentic? Because the person who allegedly wrote it says she didn't write it, knows nothing about it.
No, the document that I'm reading, I know is authentic. It is the Annex A released by unclassified annex released by Senator Grassley, written by Durham. So
which
that is
Durham said he believes it's fake.
Yeah. So if you're going to rely on Durham, Durham has a good reputation, although I think he bollocks the thing. Durham has a good reputation. He says it's fake and he didn't indict anybody. So again,
I mean, it's just so ridiculous.
Sean, there may be a there, but you're citing something that you don't know that it's real as evidence.
I haven't been there.
Have to destroy this. Yeah. It's all about destroying it. It's all it is.
But
destroy everything.
Is this extraordinary, or is this just the normal political? This is how we go.
No, Trump's effort to destroy this is not normal. Just like January,
but Dan,
just like the election stuff.
Neither are FBI agents working for a special prosecutor sending texts about hostile to Donald Trump. That's not normal either.
Wow, hold on.
That's not normal.
Literally said we have an insurance policy.
What
was Strzok saying?
Neither is trying to destroy Donald Trump's presidency by lying repeatedly about whether there's inflation. Well, no, they're not different. They're related. But you can't say that what Trump's doing now is out of the ordinary, and how dare he, when your party did well.
George, to answer your question, in my opinion, go back to Bill Clinton, right? When
I remember,
when he came in, this seems trite. Republicans said he was illegitimate because he didn't win, because he didn't get 50% of the vote.
Yeah, not too many people said that.
Well, guys, so I hate to see my friends fight, but so let me ask you. Well, I have a loser of the week, and it was the police chief from Cincinnati. I think that thing's been a mess. Yep. But do you ever think we'll see a national voter ID law?
No, because states control it.
Yeah. We have a federal system on elections. George, thank you for being part two-way. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
And I think we've got some good news to share, which is I believe the show's about to be saved with 3 new people. Patrick, am I right that you're new, or maybe not?
Just say yes, Patrick.
No?
I couldn't get into the yoga class.
Pat, unmute.
Are you muted, Patrick?
Patrick, have you been on this show before?
Okay. No, I have not been on the show before.
All right. The show's saved, everybody. Set off the helium balloons and fireworks, and thank you for being part of Two-Way. Patrick, tell folks where you are, why you like Two-Way, and what's on your mind.
I like that I'm able to hear both sides of the story, and you go after it pretty hard with each other, but at the same time, you maintain some level of civility. Today, you seem to have gone after it a little more than I've seen in the past. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah, it's all play acting. We'll go out for Heineken's right at 10 o'clock. Don't worry. Where do you live? Where do you live, Patrick?
You're kind of early for me. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay.
Oh, beautiful place.
It is a beautiful place. Tell us what's on your mind today that you'd like to talk about.
The Russiagate story that drew all the heat.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping it does get into court. I hope the Department of Justice pushes whatever they think they have against Brennan, Comey, Clapper, maybe people even higher than that. I just hope they go to grand juries and they get it in court, because the argument you're having, I think, needs to be solved. And I think the only way to do it now is discovery, people going on it. I still believe in the judicial system. Maybe I'm naive, but I think professional legal teams on either side in an adversarial environment will get to the bottom of this. And I think there is stuff there, and I think it's worse than Watergate.
All right,
but I want
to put up 110, please. This is a drawing ChatGPT made for me this morning. You just look at it and laugh. Put it up full. First of all, there's some statute of limitations issues that a prosecutor would have to figure out, because most of the things that were done potentially too old to prosecute. Number two, there are a lot of things they did that are not illegal. They're dirty pool, but they're not illegal. So I think we need to focus on making sure we understand the distinction between those. And then lastly, if I were Mr. Brennan, I would stay off MSNBC. If I was his lawyer, I would tell him to stay off MSNBC. Sean, Sean, are there going to be indictments? You can take that down.
To your point, I will just say this. After watching what they did to Trump, manufacturing charges and creating things that pass the statute of limitations to create a fake felony, I think anybody who thinks that somehow that's going to prevent this. So there's plenty of creative legal work that can be done if we want to. The greater question that I think has to be asked is there the will to do it? Because I just don't know. I think that the problem that exists on my side right now is there's a lot of people who are saying, don't get us excited if you're not going to do this. And so you can tell, very fired up about this issue. It's very personal, and I want revenge. So you know what? If these guys keep pumping out this stuff and declassifying things and don't go anywhere, you think Epstein was bad, you're going to piss off a lot of people if they don't act. So I think that they're creating the impression that things will happen, and there better be some kind of follow-up, because people who dealt with this issue are a hell of a lot more vocal than they are on Epstein. And I think you're getting a lot of people's hopes up. So I don't know yet, but I feel like they have started to create the expectation that there will be something, and people want blood.
Dan, are we headed towards the indictment avenue?
I have no idea.
No idea. Okay.
I think it depends on how desperate they are to fire their base up. They need to. They'll turn the dial to 11.
Well, but Dan, this is the point. The base is fired up now, and so they didn't need to dial. Now it's there, and you're going. Don't pull the rug out from under us again and say, "Oh well, now we can't do anything." That you've gotten us pissed off and fired up. So now act.
Patrick, thank you. Appreciate you being part of two-way. Very grateful to you for coming on, saving the show. Matthew Stone, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are what's on your mind for Sean and Dan after you unmute.
Thank you, Mark. First time just calling in.
Appreciate it.
Dan,
yes,
big
sir.
fan. Sean, big fan. When the struck page text came out, I thought, game over. And I was told by Dan, your side, don't look at them. It doesn't mean what they say.
And by the way, you were told that by the New York Times and the Washington Post, too.
I was, and it pissed me off. And when the news first broke that Hillary was behind this, that she paid for it, that the Steele dossier was not what we thought it was, that it was a political op, I was told, yeah, but Fusion GPS was hired by a conservative first, and don't worry about it. Dan, you may be right that there's nothing here, but it looks really bad. And my impetus for voting for Trump in 20 and 24 was because people like you told me, you're a conspiracy theorist, stop looking at this. I'm looking at the declassified Annex A. Best assessment was that the Bernardo emails were likely authentic. So for you to tell me it's fake.
Whose assessment is that?
This is Brennan, and I'm sorry, this is Durham. Certain analysts and officers whom the office interviewed and who were well-versed in the sensitive intelligence collection stated that their best assessment was that the Bernardo emails were likely authentic. I don't know if that's 100% true, but don't tell me that I'm a conspiracy theorist. It is bad what happened. So,
Dan,
if you want to take it back to the people you communicate with to bolster Democrat chances in the future, you have one person who is pissed off that I'm constantly being told, don't believe what you're reading. Don't believe what you're being told.
Dan, before you answer Matthew, remember, he speaks for tens of millions.
Oh, look, I know he does. And I know.
Hold on. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry. Matthew, are you a kook?
I hope I'm not.
Yeah. Okay. Just pointing out, you're not a kook. Dan.
Look, I love politics. I love the game. I have tremendous respect for Donald Trump. I have tremendous respect the way he operates, and he's been incredibly successful. We have 3 minutes left here. There are so many things. Like, I could spend the whole show. I'm sure it'd be great content if Sean and I just went back and forth on this, because I got a lot of thoughts about this. There's so much that I agree with in terms of Letitia James going after him the way she did, stuff that was totally because he wanted to run for president, right? There is so much stuff on this issue that is being dripped out, that is being selectively put out, that in my opinion, it is ludicrous what they're trying to attempt to do. But I get why they're trying to do it. You and I could disagree about that, Matt, and Sean could too, right? It doesn't change the fact that the Russians interfered, doesn't change the fact they wanted to hurt her, and doesn't change the fact that
How did they interfere?
The Russians. If
they hacked the DNC emails.
Right. So Matt, you know what? I'll even give you
did
another.
They? You know that for sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
pretty sure.
Yeah, we are.
Dan, you're pretty sure?
Yes, I am. And by the way, Trump's own assessments in the first term said that. So did Marco Rubio. Okay. So even if you wanted to go through all of this and say everything that I believe that you're talking about is true, okay? Hillary Clinton in the summer of 16 said, I want to distract from the emails that the Russians hacked and released. I'm going to blame Trump. If every campaign that attempts to deflect is criminal.
No. You're deflecting now.
No. Again, I don't believe that stuff is true.
All right, hold on one second.
That's where you're going.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second. There's two choices, and this is even independent of whether Sean wants to get back in. We can either stop now and end on time, or I can warn the affiliates we're going to run a little bit over. So I leave it to the three of you. Do you want to just stop, or do you want to go over?
I mean, this would be a long conversation if we keep going.
Matthew, come back on Monday. Come back on Monday, Matthew. All right. Let's go 5. Warn our affiliates. We're going to run a little over. Matthew, you have to accept the fact that in the realm we're in, we're reliant on the intelligence community because none of us know whether those emails were hacked and given to Assange. We just don't know. We have no independent, it's not a journalist or political operative in the world who knows. So we're reliant on the intelligence community. And we know that the intelligence community has been used by both parties over the years for their own political purposes, either under the orders of a political actor or because they had an agenda. We know that. So it makes it very difficult to make judgments about any of this. I don't believe, based on the totality of what I know, that the documents that have you and Sean so fired up, I don't believe they're real. But I don't know. But neither do you.
So can I hear?
Yes,
let me just weigh in. So there's two issues in my mind. One is the juxtaposition and the default of 51 intelligence agencies, intelligence officials lied about Hunter Biden's laptop. Okay, that's a fact. That was not true, and they lied. And everyone in the media censored and canceled people who tried to get that word out. Then when we actually have intelligence, right? Now, again, to your point, what we choose to look at, okay, but we actually have source documents. And then we have a debate over whether or not it's true or not. And that conversation cannot happen is ridiculous. So we have one situation.
It's ridiculous.
Who said the conversation can't happen?
No. That's what's going on right now, meaning not us. But you can't, the Washington Post, NBC, they did plenty of stories this morning on Sydney Sweeney, but they can't talk about actual declassification that proves that something, or that there's at least a debate
the New York
about
Times
what occurred.
The New York Times did a story. But Dan, their point was this is all bullshit.
Right.
That's what their story was.
So they have no problem running with a lie when it favors the Democratic Party, when there's actually source documents that question whether the Obama administration in collusion with the Soros Foundation and Hillary Clinton was actually doing something to undermine the will of the American people. It's not a story.
Hold on a second. In the summer of July of 16,
I agree with Sean.
In the summer of July of 16, the American people hadn't voted yet. Okay, Sean, you've been on many campaigns. You were on the Trump campaign. Did you guys ever seek to change the subject and deflect with information that might not?
But Dan, doing it by relying on your own administration's intelligence community is different than having a press conference and saying, I'm going to marry Sydney Sweeney. I mean, it's just not the same.
Because so just the idea, of course, you deflect.
John Durham said that stuff's fake. But
wait. Deflecting a story.
Even if I go with you, even if I'm going to play the fairy tale that, okay, all of that stuff is true. So what you're saying is when she said, let's change the subject from the hacked emails, okay? Did you guys try to change the subject when Access Hollywood came out?
Yes.
Yeah, but
we
not
didn't
using.
say, hey,
not
let's
using
call
it-
the FBI and perpetrate a story.
Yeah, they had the women who were Bill Clinton's accusers come to the event.
And they asked for more emails to be released.
But Dan, that's different than using the intelligence community to say false things.
Again, I don't think that was
something
true,
Joe Biden did in 2020.
Okay, so let me just ask, Dan, seriously, like when Peter Strzok said that we have an insurance policy, do you think he was lying?
I don't even remember that case.
That's
I'm not being flip about it.
That's the text that he sent to his colleague where she was expressing concern. He said,
we don't know.
not good.
We don't know but we don't know what he meant.
Okay, fine. I don't know, but it should raise the specter of suddenly it goes from we have an insurance policy and suddenly we're investigating a false dossier. I don't know. It doesn't take to me a degree in forensic science to put
it's just
together
the
and
conversation.
say, maybe that's what's going on.
The conversation hops from Hunter Biden's laptop 4 years later back to it is.
Dan, the reason it hops to that is because the Clintons and Biden's foreign policy advisors have a demonstrated record of having no compunction at all of using the intelligence community and national security credibility. Same with Adam Schiff, to try to destroy Donald Trump. And the people who've elected Donald Trump 2 out of 3 times are a little annoyed and a little frustrated that the press ignores their demonstrated record and gives them not just some of the benefit of the doubt, the total benefit of the doubt.
Look, I totally get it. I get why Democrats feel that the Trump people have done the same thing through conservative media, right?
Yeah.
Look, I get it.
But it's different to use the media than it is to use the intelligence media. Matthew.
Wait, well, hold on. Mark, are you saying the Trump administration never uses their intelligence to go after their domestic enemy?
No, I'm not saying that.
All right.
I'm not saying that.
We have difference of opinion. Okay.
No. I'm agreeing with you. They do it too. Matthew.
Of course. I mean,
do you think that Sean and I are up in arms because Hillary Clinton tried to change a political narrative? Do you really think that's what this is about? Are you accusing me of saying, God darn it, Hillary, you tried to change the subject? Is that
no?
What
I think you want. I think Trump's goal. I'm not going to say what you want. I think Trump's goal with all of this is it drives him nuts that 16 is not 100% credited that Donald Trump defeated everybody, right? He wants
No, Dan, respectfully, I think what drives him nuts is that the press colluded with the Democrats to try to destroy his first term. I think that's what he's upset.
Look, so what I believe is it was legitimate to look into whether there had been collusion. It turns out that what Mueller said is not. But I go back to the Russians interfered. The Russians interfered to harm her.
Because Paul Manafort shared some polling data? I mean, what was the predicate? What was the predicate? Yeah, but there's no indication that was at the behest of Donald Trump because he said something flip at a press conference.
We all know that now because there was an investigation.
Dan, go back and look at the predicate. We didn't need an investigation to destroy someone's presidency to know it was all bullshit.
Mark, hold on a second. Did the Russians interfere?
Yeah.
Did the Russians interfere? We pretty certain to harm Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
Did the Russians communicate with the Trump people at all?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I took those 3 fact patterns, you would not say this is worth looking into.
Compared to
No. Is that worth looking into?
Not a special counsel that ruins his presidency. No.
Well, hold on a second. His own attorney general appointed a special counsel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, we got to go.
Right,
we're over. Matthew, thank you for coming on. I wouldn't drink hot chocolate or red wine back at that bookcase, just so you know. That is a gleaming thing. All right, a couple 2-ways coming up later today. Matthew, thank you. Thanks to all 4 of our new folks. Please come back. A couple 2-ways coming later today. Random Offense, 4:00 with Ethan. Incredible show. Mike Pesca comes back. Please join the gist, Mike Pesca, and our friend Ethan Strauss, 4:00 Eastern time, live, participated in the conversation. And then I'll be on at 6 on 2-Way Tonight, final program of the week. Selena Zito, whose #1 best-selling book about Donald Trump, Butler, is available now in hardcover and audio format. Selena is great, and we'll talk about all of this stuff and more 6 o'clock tonight. And the 3 of us will be back Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, the Lord willing. And don't forget to listen to my episode of Next Up, available now as a podcast and on YouTube. My guest, Meghan McCain and David Bonson, and my reported monologue on who is the current Democratic frontrunner for 2028. The answer will surprise you. Sean, what do you have tonight?
Two guests. Jim McLaughlin, the president's pollster. We break down everything that's going on with his approval rating, plus how the big, beautiful bill will play out. And then Ryan Gerdusky. We're going to talk about redistricting, especially with Texas. I continue to get a little worried that we're overreaching in Texas, and maybe this is helps us in the short term and long term. We're going to break down the trends, not just there, but also where Republicans are going to go on offense in other states and where Democrats could get retribution. So state by state, both on the polling and on the redistricting tonight at 6.
Okay. And one more housekeeping announcement. As we log off, I'll be going on the YouTube chat, and anyone who's put smack in the chat, I will be sticking Tulsi Gabbard and Director Brennan on you. So
and Matt Stone, he's going to come back.
Yeah, just so be warned now. You'll be hearing from Brennan and Tulsi Gabbard. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you for being part of Two Way.
That was the wildest one I've been part of.
That was a show. My goodness.
I don't know if I need to